note takers here. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. No, that's good. Let me just prepare the GUI.
Yeah, of course.
Just, yeah. Okay, so
Of course.
we're looking at basically the small investors, right? So those that are lending money and receive interests from Maclear.
Yes, and I think he told me before that it should be automated both parts. I mean, the
Mhm.
investors and the borrowers, right?
Exactly,
Uh,
yeah.
and I think it's possible now just to start from investors because it's. I think the most transactions, credit and debit, coming from investors mostly. I
Mhm.
think because of interest payment, deposits, bonuses, right? And then we will be able to do the same for borrowers, I think. But we just started from investors only, and the Dimitri gave me, I think, the same spreadsheet comes from admin panel of Maclear, right? Where
Mhm.
we can see the name of the person, the Maclear ID, then email or stuff, personal
Exactly.
information. Yes, and the type of timestamp, type of deposit, amount of deposit, and stuff like that. Yes, and we also validated all the fields, and we know, so we don't need, for example, the IBAN, or we don't need the something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we need just a type of transaction and date and time and amount.
The
That's easier.
person contact. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the contact. So, but again, don't really sure, but the developers struggled with this, maybe faced
Mhm.
some issues or how to manage that. Yeah, that's better. I can see.
Mhm.
I think this is
Yeah, just share the screen. Let me just introduce you to what you see.
yes,
Because, well, we're talking now about the investors. And I mean, the investors, since they send money, we owe them money back, right? So we book everything as an account payable, or in the module of accounts payable. It's called Kreditorenbuchhaltung in German.
yeah,
And basically, since we owe money to the investors, we look it as an accounts payable, right? And I just filtered one of them to make it, just to break it down just to one case. And what we see, I just created a report for that person, Leroy Florian, which is one investor on the platform. For 2023, we had several incoming payments, right? We had a referral
yeah,
cashback. We had interest expenses, and then we had the bonus also. So we have basically most of the transactions that happen in that case covered within one single example, within one contact.
yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah,
may I ask you, and where where did you get these accounts payable? I mean, it's only for one specific investor, Leroy Florian, right?
right, right. Yeah,
Um, and this is how you do that usually. I mean, you're
exactly.
not. So let me clarify. So you're not going to try to manage to handle all the transactions. I mean, for 100 investors, for example, right? You group them by person. So you start from like person A, then person B, then person
Right,
C.
right. No, we basically, since we did it manually for 2023, we looked at every single transaction, and we just booked through the bank. So whenever we got a payment, like in October, we looked, oh, this is a new investor, so we created the contact.
Yeah.
Then we booked the incoming payment, and then the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and then we had an oh, this was a bonus. Okay, but then we had a cashback,
Yeah.
and then we booked it, and this was all based on the bank transactions, one, and second, based on the lists that we got provided from McClear.
Okay. And it's like it doesn't matter. I mean, what where to start from, the all the transactions or just the one investor, or it depends whether this investor and you or existing, or it depends.
It doesn't depend which booking you do first, but it depends. I mean, you need to allocate the transaction to a specific contact, right, in the
Yeah.
database. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But we can run all the incoming payments, and then secondly, we can run all the referral cashbacks. That doesn't matter how we do it from the order, right?
oh, okay. 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 And this is MC530. So this is already existing. So you're not creating this person.
Well,
You
now
just
it's existing, but we
it's
did create it. So I go into the address management, and then when I look for Leroy, Florian, maybe I misspelled it exactly. I can open that contact, and we manually created that person, right? And what we basically did, we added name, prename, and MacLear number.
okay.
And then we added some, basically we added the account where we need to book it, and that's it. And yeah, exactly, we added the check mark that it's an investor.
Kleinanleger, retail
Yeah,
investor.
no, it's mispronounced. It's basically investors, Anleger.
Ah, okay. Okay, it's basically investor. And can you just, for example, add someone, I mean, for test purposes or real person, maybe, what are the fields required to be filled? I mean, only a
Mhm.
first name, last name, the McClear ID, and check the account or something.
So basically, name,
Yes. Name.
rename. We added the address number 5 because we basically never use this field. So this will be important for matching both database IDs. Because you get you basically get an ID in PROFFIX, which is 107 in here, and this one needs to be matched in your system with the ID MC 530 in your system, right?
Yeah.
And then because it's a mandatory field, we add basically the country, which says Staatsangehörigkeit unbekannt. It just means we don't know the domicile of that person.
And what is 11?
It's 11 is the ID of that entry, which is
Okay.
Staatsangehörigkeit unbekannt.
It's like the place undefined, right, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you can
11.
always take 11. So you can add this statically. Always 11. You can hard code 11. It's always
Okay, yeah,
11.
yeah, that's also helpful. Yeah, because of maybe these small things blocking the developers or something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, makes sense. Makes sense. Uh, Sprache, die Deutsch,
Yeah.
is it obligatory?
When you create a new entry, it automatically adds it, but I think you can leave it empty. Yeah, it would accept it. We don't need the language. If we remove it, it just adds it back.
Well, I see.
But because we never send any correspondence from PROFFIX to those persons, so it doesn't matter. If it's needed, you can add Deutsch. That doesn't matter. Yeah, or English.
Yeah, just okay. Yeah, and that's it. Like only 4 fields should be.
Let me just go through it because I'm not sure. I don't think this is needed in the API because you anyway book it when you create the entry, but we add the information that whenever we book an entry on that person as an accounts payable, we book it to 2140 loans to retail investors.
2140 means the ID of account, or what's that?
That's the accounting account. And there we distinguish in between CHF, Swiss francs, euros, and US dollars. But you can leave it empty. You don't need it in the contact because it's just helping you when you create a new entry in allocating the account. But since you do it with an API, you will always push the right account from the script, right? So you don't need it here. You can leave it empty. That would be fine. But what you would probably need in that field, let me just open it again. So we have a fresh, or we have the initial, exactly. So I make a new screenshot. What we have down here, this is the field of all the bank details of that contact, right? And when I edit this one, I added basically no payment details. And it's just mandatory to have an entry in here. And because we don't manage the bank accounts in PROFFIX, we just add the information that there's no.
It's like keine Zahlungsart. So it's like no.
No payment method.
Okay, yeah, like no payment method. Okay, got it. Yep. It makes sense.
But that's an entry which you have to choose. That's not free text. Option to choose. Good.
Okay, yeah, noted.
And then the last, but I mean the system would work even without it. But we added it just for internal purposes. For me, it's fine if you just go with the minimal, but we add the information that this address group is belonging to Anleger, right? And this is this is basically the ID of this entry. Or it's not the ID, it's just reference. I don't see the database ID.
KANL, right?
KANL, yes. But for me, it's fine if you don't really use it. So then we just have no check mark, but it wouldn't affect anything. Let's make it easy, right? Otherwise, with every addition we add to the script, it's getting more complicated, and it doesn't really add value to anything. It's just if you would like to sort out your contacts, you could just easily do it by, hey, give me all the borrowers, by example, right? But then you see the borrowers you have, or give me all the investors. You have much more. But if we don't have it, don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
So I delete this one because I think we have to leave it as simple as possible.
Let's see. I think it's not either developers will manage that. I mean, if it's needed to be filled in, let's fill it in. If not, let's keep.
It's not mandatory, so it's up to you. Okay, let me just. It will be this one and this one, and that's it basically. So we would have it. That's all the details you have to add to a new contact.
Okay, and how do you recognize whether this contact existing or not? So when you look at the table on the spreadsheet, you got a transaction like transaction A, and the contact A, for example, this Leroy Florian, blah blah blah.
Exactly.
You try to search for this contact before at any transaction, right? So you check
Right.
if it is existing or not.
Let's say we have a blank entry. I just go to address and let's say, well, is there really Roy, right? Or Roy? Florian. Not sure why this is not coming in here. But yeah, it will come if I write it correctly. And if I find it, I basically know that this contact exists, right? And if it's not in here, I can directly create a new one. Basically, that should be also added to the script, so that whenever, I mean, you would do it like more in a programmatic way, where you look for is there an entry that has basically you get the MacLear number, right?
Yeah.
And which one did he have? 500. He had 530. Then let's say I look for address 5 is equal to MC 530. If I find an entry, I take this one, and elsewise I would create a new one. So you see, I get it with the request I just added. Address line 5 is equal to MC 530, which is the ID that was given to me, is in your system, in your database. Probably it's not even the ID on your side, but it's just a reference that you will have to match with address line 5.
Yeah, and I think On our side, it should be an ID. I mean, this number is unique and it's
Mhm.
kind of identifier, right?
Exactly.
Uh, okay, yeah, you see that. And this is how you check it.
This is how you will check it. Yeah, exactly. You will look through the database of all addresses. Is there this entry, MC530, in any of those address lines 5?
If any, if any in the five, okay. Uh, check MC uh, uh, if any in the address address five. Okay, makes sense. Uh, if it's existing, go to the transaction. If not, let's go to create a new one. A
Yeah,
new
so if it's existing, take this contact. If not, make a new one.
Okay. I think it's maybe clear. Again, it might be clear to me. I'm not sure
Mhm.
else on the developer side and on
Mhm.
the API side, but it's really should be clear how to add a
Mhm.
new entity like new investor. And what about transaction? Uh, I noticed there are a lot of yeah. This is the transaction.
Right. Let me just open for the incoming payments. Let's say the investor is sending in money, right? This is requested, or this is registered in your platform. I'm not sure who is doing it and how it's being done, right?
and the
Is it
and the
manually allocated or?
manually allocated. What do you mean?
Well, if Leroy sends money to any, well, to any account of MacLear, right? Then he invests money, right? It does a deposit first.
Yeah,
It Who does record that entry when who does the verification that that money came in on the bank account and that there's the credit that's being applied to the customer, to the investor?
yeah, yeah. I think I got a question. I think it's something where it's Dimitri
Yeah.
responsibility, and he gave me just a table like a spreadsheet, and he told me that it's counted in the admin
Mhm.
panel of the platform, but I'm not sure whether it manually or
Mhm.
automatically. Hope it should be automatically, right? And we can export that
Mhm.
before being
Okay.
book kept. Yeah, here.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is
Well,
what I how I yeah imagine.
okay, that was just a question popping up to me. It doesn't matter as long it's been done correctly, right? Um, but
This yeah.
yeah, you will have it in the system on your side, and you will push it to the accounting. So let's look from this point of view. So basically we have the date, right? The booking date, which is the payment date also. You
Yeah.
want me to do a screenshot and so I can
Yeah, the more screenshots you do, the more clearly it became.
let's say pay date. This is it's basically it's the receipt date is equal to payment date in that case. We don't distinguish it.
Hmm. Is is it always equal?
It's always equal, yes.
Okay, it's always equal.
Because we do not have a receipt. Let's say if if Maclear would send out a receipt which is dated a few days later, then we would have that information. But it doesn't matter anyway. But we have to fill it out. So just make it equal. Always equal to payment date. All right.
Yeah.
And then we have that, it's called booking method. This is something special because it's kind of a scope in which we do the booking. And it's like a template, right? And there we have the incoming, we have those different payment methods. Let me just add it to here. And let's say we have in this case, it's KLI. It's it's incoming payment from retail investors, and that method, booking method, is narrowing the scope in which you can make your bookings, right? The accounting bookings. And in here, I define, hey, for within that scope, you can only book to those accounts.
Like, okay, Wise or Narvi or bank charges. I mean, and what about other bookings out? I mean, the booking methods. It's like this one, KLI, and what about others?
Yeah, we have incoming payment. We have outgoing payments. If someone requests a deposit back, then we have the referral cashback. We have the interest expenses. Of course, those are to be booked differently because this is an expense on the Maclear side, right?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you will have to push down that account on your own. So I would be fine if we open it to every account, and and you can do a free booking, because since you do it programmatically, you will always use the right account, right? So I don't need to narrow in those bookings because you're not a human making errors or mistakes. It's a software that will always book correctly. So I would be fine if we say we make a new one and we leave it open basically to all kind of accounts. So you just push the account in that we once defined.
And yeah, I got the idea, and I got what it's talking about, but I'm not sure I understand clearly how will we define these accounts on our side. I mean, you said when it comes automatically, you don't need to check to narrow these templates, right, and these methods, because we will not make any like mistakes and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got the idea, but where to find these accounts or
well, we define it once. So let's say you will take, for interests, you will take 4402. For the referral cashback, you will take 4404, and so on, right? So we define them, and then for for the deposits, you will take basically the loans to the investors, right? That's an account, but this one also exists for several currencies. I think for now we only have euros, right? But it could be that there will be US dollars, Swiss francs in the future. But for now, since we have to place the debt from the Maclear side to this account 2141, and we have to allocate the incoming payment to the specific bank account where the payment truly came in. Do you have that information on your side?
This I'm not sure. I mean, is it possible to look at somewhere at this matching or provide me and maybe in tax? I'm not sure. Again, maybe this conversation, right, and some screenshots would be helpful, but it's also good to have this like kind of any simple document or email or something, because of I'm not sure where to get this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
10 27 means wise, and
exactly.
10
Yeah. No,
24
we will.
means.
The question was not if you have the accounting accounts. It's more like, is the system holding the information of those multiple accounts that exist, right? So, or is Dimitri just adding an incoming payment to one bank account, or is there also a distinguishment in between all of those accounts that exist? Because we have a few of them. You understand? Because
More or less, yes, more or less.
the investor not only pays to one account. Once he pays to Wise, another times he pays to Relio, a third time he pays to a different bank account. And since this is very crucial for accounting, that we always show the right balance. And this is only possible when we book correctly on the account that the investor was paying in.
And how do you define that? I mean,
Because we get the account details from the bank directly, so we know that this came in on that account on Wise Euro, right? And then
I mean, is any logic behind or something? So like, it depending on what? Like, I'm an investor, like this
yeah
flow, and I'm
yeah
paying
exactly
to Wise account, but like tomorrow I will pay to another account, or
yeah that can change. I mean, it should be that they are only using one, but they are relying on different banks. And so in the past, they also use different banks. So, I mean, it would be a huge mess if we just would book everything to one account. And then we have to go through every transaction to find where is the difference coming from, right? So we need to make sure that this from the beginning is possible, the allocation to the right bank account.
and right, okay, and right now we are using only two of them. It's only two bank accounts.
1 second. We use multiple bank accounts. We have Narvi, Euro, Wise CHF, Wise Euro, Wise US dollar, but we have Post Finance, Swiss francs also. But I think Yeah, so when I remember it right, sometimes investors also paid into Narvi, not only to Wise. Let me check that. So I'm
As I remember in my spreadsheet, what comes from Dimitri or from admin panel, right? I'm
Mhm,
not sure if there any is there any information about these bank accounts. So I just see the like investor details, I see the transaction details, and I'm not see any any account where it comes to.
mhm, mhm,
Uh, Maybe we have to add it, or
mhm,
somehow any method to identify which account it's paying to, because right now we see only like interest payment of this amount, date, time
mhm,
is a person who does, but nothing about Wise or Narvi, and this is
mhm.
what.
Well, that's basically an important requirement um, if they are using more than one bank account, right? So that's the question. Will they accept the fact that they will never be able to change the bank account? But we had some I would say that some exceptions in the past. We not only got money to the Wise account, and then it starts to get um, messy in accounting when we start booking incoming payments to an account which was not used from the investor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, from the bookkeeping point of view, I understand, and now
Mhm,
how to sort things out from the developer's point of view. It's like, well, let me clarify that on the Dimitri side. Maybe
mhm.
um, we can get this information from the admin or somewhere and
Yeah, yeah.
put into export file, put into export CSV file, right? And
Mhm.
give them to the developers, or uh, I will ask you more, maybe because it's not clear to me, or maybe it's there,
Exactly.
maybe it's there, right? But okay, uh, where we stopped, we add in a new transaction for
Mhm.
already existing investor, and you have to choose Buchungsart, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
this method, but generally speaking, we don't need that because of automation, and we will push the data directly, right, and to the right account, and maybe we don't need to choose this option, maybe if we know the account.
Um,
If I
exactly. But I mean, I'm just adding the information. We could use a generic booking method where um, all accounts are allowed to be booked, right?
Yeah.
And then we don't need to make the software too complicated. So
Okay.
we could just, yeah, that maybe would be good.
Generic method where all accounts are allowed to be booked. Okay, let developers check for that. Because yeah, I'm kind of understanding. Yeah, it's better to understand me from both
Mm,
sides, like from the person side, like manually how we do that, and from this
mm,
interface, also from the developer side, from the API, right? And synchronize us. So sometimes I understand, but they will not understand me. It might happen.
Yeah, I understand. But let me just make it clear. We have to add that generic booking method. We have to add it here, and we had to leave it open so that the API is not restricting the bookings you want to place, right?
Mm.
Because that's the scope of in which I allow bookings to be made.
So like it might be open, so it might be empty.
Yeah, exactly. So I could add, let's say, a booking method which is called open, and then I can just leave it open to every booking, and I do not need to restrict it to a specific account, because I could say, hey, only book to credit account this one. And then I add it, right? And then the API is only allowing it to this account, and all other accounts would be.
It's some kind of restriction. Yeah, I got. And we could keep it empty, and we could book to any account
Exactly.
just by leaving that empty. Okay, that
Exactly.
makes sense. Yeah, now it makes sense. Okay.
That would be an approach, because otherwise you need to add some more logic of when to use which booking method, because you will have to use the booking method incoming payments for incoming payments, this one for outgoing, this one for referral cashbacks, this one for interest expenses, this one for bonus. And if we use an open one, you can just use this one and then add the accounts you want to use, right? Because you anyway need to do it. But then you just give the text, which is free text, and the accounts that you add to the logic. And we did not yet speak of the accounts which come down here. But this is restricting, because let's say I use invoice, and now I want to book to Wise. Okay, this is allowed, but 2141, it's not taking it because the scope is not allowing me to add the debit account which we used before. So I would have to go back to the initial one, and now I'm able to use it again. You understand? Because it's just a restriction that is giving me the system from the booking method.
So like we will need that.
I mean, yeah, we will create one which is maybe called open or maybe API or whatever, and then you give the accounts that we will provide you, right?
Yep.
And you will also add the text to the booking. So then you're not restricted within the API method, and you can freely use all accounts from the account table. I will have to leave at 10 because I have another meeting. So we probably have to reschedule a meeting.
Yeah, because of information. But and is there any other? I mean, all these Bitrocks, the amount is
Yeah.
also need to be. It is something specific fields besides this we discussed, or besides the amounts.
This is the contact, right?
Yeah.
Then this one is basically the payment method from within the contact. because you remember we added that no payment method to the contact, and it's basically the contact's payment method, which is none, basically. But it's how
not
it hit it, yeah. And and then we have the debit account, and we have the credit account. This is from accounting. Currency is clear.
Yeah. What's the course?
This is the exchange rate.
The exchange rate, it comes automatically.
Exactly. I hope it's being provided from the system, because we have a table in here. Währungen, Euro, where I basically have all those entries, right, for every month. And it's basically taking the correct exchange rate automatically. Where's snag it here?
And also, right now, when I have when we have the credentials, right, to access the database and the PROFFIX itself, I mean, are developers able to look at the same interface as you looking, or it's something private? Because what I'm asking, I checked personally a while time ago, and I gave all the credentials, everything, like the server IP and the database password, everything you gave me. I also gave it to my developers right now, but just this interface you showed me today, and
This one? Yeah.
is it something private to you, or we have exactly the same?
No, there's no option to grant access to to that software, because you do not license it, right? So there's no option to access the GUI. There's only
this GUI is not allowed us to access to. It's
right.
just have like a database, right? And
Exactly. Just the API, not even the database you can access. I mean, you can access the data on the database through the API, but there's no direct access to the SQL server.
To the SQL server. Okay, and besides of meeting recording, I'm just curious, is it possible somehow to connect, I don't know, like a TeamViewer or any desk or something? Maybe the developers will look at something, just because here these modules is really, this GUI is clear enough. I think it's clear enough. I just checking the questions the developers gave me recently, and like the first question is, in which table of which module is there a table with our investors? But I could understand that here is the modules, right? The address very well. This first one, this is address. This is where investors stored, right? And the second is how to find all the investors via address number 5 field. Because of you shared me the search interface in GUI something, and how to how to do that with API. I mean,
Yeah,
how to know everything. Is it
yeah,
possible?
yeah.
Like,
It's not possible because if we would provide you access to the server, you would also directly get access to all our customers' database, and that's not something I can do. But what we could do is we can have a session together with me, with the developers, so they can basically question everything. If they don't want to go through the documentation where to find which table. Yeah.
And maybe okay, I remember.
Would you be available this afternoon to proceed with that meeting? Nick? Nick, you hear me? Nick, I'm not sure if you hear me, but I will have to leave now because I have another meeting.